Hello, welcome to episode 12 of the End of the Beginning podcast. In this episode, we chat about the societal interest in youth, chemical and consciousness disassociation, and the difference between intuition and imagination. We discuss the courage of showing yourself love in times of disappointment and being of service. We hope you enjoy what you hear, and if you'd like to submit any questions for upcoming episodes, please contact us at the end of the beginning podcast at gmail.com. Alternatively, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Instagram. Thanks for listening. Yeah, isn't it interesting, like the societal interest in youth? I don't know if it's procreation or I don't know if it's it's what society's built on, like this capitalism based on the energy of youth, perhaps. The ignorance of youth, perhaps, even. The older I get, it's like the less I feel like working for somebody else and doing somebody else's plan.
In all the ways.
Yeah, so maybe it's that.
Describing authenticity. The older you get, the more attractive authenticity becomes.
Perhaps, yeah.
Oof, that's lovely. And we focus on no more bullshit.
Yeah.
And it's bullshit, which would be inauthenticity, that motivates, clarifies, obligates authenticity.
Yeah.
So it serves a purpose, but its purpose is to point you in the other direction.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like not a toxic version, but a really gravel in your guts version of the finger pointing at the moon. It's like, don't get lost in the finger. This would be the dualistic polarized version of it.
Yeah.
It's like, don't get lost in the horror. Capitalize on the opportunity that the horror brings, which is to say, how does it make you feel, really? Go, well, this is 11 out of 10 fucked. To me, to the poolness of it all. And it's okay, so what does that say about the opposite? So inauthenticity is just probably it's always been a mess, but it's never been clearer than now. And you're like, when people are willing to have a hard conversation, when people are willing to look me right in the eye and see me as I am and really hear me, that's amazing.
Yeah.
For every part that I detest inauthenticity, I revel in authenticity. They are deeply connected, and you might even say romantically, rolling around in the hay together. They've got everything to do with each other. You're going to say something?
I was thinking of like the intensity of what you're saying in terms of like you try to have those conversations, or you go to have a conversation with someone, and you're like, oh, I can't say that.
Yeah.
But they need to hear that, because that implies that I know better. It's not. It's like this might be really helpful from my experience, you know.
Yeah.
And then you can't really like.
That's about them. In the way you're languaging it, and we're fumbling through finding the words and stuff. But it's because you're almost describing a scenario of helping.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say I'm trying to help.
I don't know. I don't think of it in those terms. As a first step, as a first thought, think about like, I get to be authentic or inauthentic, and there's shades in between. But you don't really try to be halfway. You try to be as authentic as you can in that circumstance. Yeah.
Do you ever get that feeling like you've got this little roadmap that you could we could go for a walk for a couple of minutes if you wanted to, you know, but they've got to want to come for the walk.
You're seeing a shimmer of possibility of upliftment. You're seeing something in me is stirring. And I'd really love to explore that.
Yeah.
And I suspect you've had a similar experience to me in this context, and probably many have as well. But the way that I've learned when to pick that up and when not is through the utter carnage of fucking it up.
Yeah. Many times.
The amount of times I've put incredible depth into the wrong person, and you work it out straight away, you work it out later, you work it out over 10 years. Yeah.
When they're just like...
and some of the more confusing ones are like, hold on, we give lip service to the fact that this is a deep connection, and yet when I go to the depth, you turn off or become really, like the eyes start to wander and the hand starts to shake, and And I suppose what's really going on is you're having a dialogue with yourself, which would say there's the observer, the witness, and the phenomena that's arising, like the experience.
You mean them as you?
No,
Or
I mean,
do you
like, let's say
like-
Paul and Paul, or Luke and Luke. So I'm in that moment, and on a human level, there is me and them, but on a deeper level, there's me observing my experience of myself in a
Right.
certain setting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I seem to have the green flags to talk to a deep depth, to a certain depth, but when I did it, I had on a feeling level, I had a very turbulent experience or something.
Yeah.
Like you felt the pushback, or you felt the irritability that you experienced as pushback. So you're having a dance with experience. You're having a dance with yourself.
Yeah.
And going, okay, what am I revealing to myself about this? So that sometimes, the insight in this instance might be sometimes the lip service and the truth don't align. And so discernment comes online.
Some people say that they are interested in exploring something, but they're not really.
Yeah.
And they don't know that they're not until you kind of go, okay, take a deep breath and let's dive. And they're like, well, where are you going? And you're like, we've got to go down here.
Yeah, this is what you said.
And they're like, no, I don't go down there.
Yeah.
Ever.
Or they're saying, yeah, we're there. I live there all the time.
Yeah.
But every cell in your body is saying this person is in the definition of discomfort, exemplified by their inauthenticity. They can't look me in the eye anymore. We're no longer together. We're no longer having a shared experience. They're not here with me. They're so overwhelmed. What I experience it as more and more, and this language is seeping in, probably because of ketamine, really. But
You're on ketamine right now?
this concept of chemical and consciousness disassociation. Consciousness disassociation is a mouthful. So on a chemical level, it's causing a neurological disassociation.
Yeah.
Which is a fascinating concept. The fact that that's even possible pharmaceutically.
The chemical is disconnecting you from your being. You're not doing it. The chemical is? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, it's providing...
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue that maybe it's following similar chemical pathways that if you engage in certain depths of meditation and you start to step into deeper witness consciousness and you're really like outside your body floating around, this is a chemical equivalent of that. It's like a lot of things, like perhaps... many of our listeners have, aware of the God molecule DMT thing, where something that is endogenous to our system and can happen naturally through, let's say, unusually transcendent sex, meditation, near-death experience, or you can take a third-party version of it. It does exist. It's a distinct hallucinogenic experience that, from personal experience, does have a big overlap with something like ayahuasca, the DMT chemical.
It's the same chemical, isn't it? DMT and both, but a different experience of...
Yeah, so one of them's... I mean, the endogenous version is metabolized really quickly in our system. And you have another, similar with ayahuasca, from a botanical source. You have a supplemental chemical that slows its metabolism, so it lasts for up to 8 hours, whatever. So you're then having that DMT experience for a sustained period, and you can walk around.
Oh, that's the ayahuasca version.
Yeah,
but then the DMT version is different, right? Like I've heard other people.
I think you're just imbibing DMT.
Oh, no way! So there's no inhibitor, MAO inhibitor, and so it just.
Yeah,
that's
so
the
one that
natural,
comes from
normal
typically
length.
acacia bark. The stuff that happens innately in your system, the stuff that belongs to you, the stuff that you synthesize all by yourself, and then the stuff that some plant does the same version of, but then you can distill that down through a process and then smoke it.
Yeah.
Yeah, vape it or whatever.
That's interesting because I've heard people talk about the two different experiences, and one's 2 minutes long, and you're strapped to a rocket heading into space.
Yeah.
And the other one's obviously a very different experience. It's
perhaps
hours and hours.
Perhaps 10,
but
15,
that's why.
20, Yeah, chemically. Yeah.
Sorry, my sciencey brain's just going, wow,
well, it's interesting.
That's interesting, yeah.
But the reason I started with all that was because it's fascinating that you can have an experience through a deliberate and explicit chemical that you take, that you deliberately take, let's say, and you can have that spontaneously, and you can probably even or let's say you can have it deliberately through an esoteric technique too. Kundalini awakenings, like these different kind of transcending methods or what have you.
The holotropic breathwork.
It's really interesting. Yeah, totally. So
talk about that too.
So I suppose the commonality is us.
Yeah,
is
the
soul or the energetic machine we inhabit. Ghost in the shell.
You're kind of affecting the vessel so much, and it doesn't matter which way you affect it. You kind of push back into that space. Is that kind of...
creating an experience, yeah. I just find it interesting that you can... I don't know. So as another comparison, you could view getting ill as a karmic cracking open into vulnerability and even stasis, so you're not so preoccupied and distracted, that you can really sit with something. Like, people like the sort of karmic trope of if you're not able to sit with this pain, you'll end up in a car crash and sit in a hospital bed for 2 months healing, so you can really sit with that discomfort.
Yeah.
Or you could perhaps circumvent it and have a more routine intimacy with yourself all the time, so that those blow-ups are less necessitated. Similarly, you can find these things naturally, or you can adopt them deliberately chemically or something. There's an overlap there. Or like, am I getting sick because I had proximity to somebody else who was sick? Or am I getting sick because of divine intervention? Because it's time for that. It's time for something introverted and introspective and rehabilitative, or whatever, rehabilitating.
Words.
Can't remember how I got into all that.
It's fascinating.
It started with aging.
Yeah.
And then for some reason I brought up the disassociation. So coexisting with people, I'm noticing. So when you're in a dialogue that it seemed to be mutually participatory, we're going to go on a deep dive together. I'm all about this stuff. Let's go do it. And then you notice they're not really with you.
Yeah.
I would argue that in order to notice, you've probably got to be with you. In order to notice disconnect in another in an authentic way, you would have to be adopting the vibrational position or state of connection to self. So it's like we deliberately set out to connect with ourselves and explore and amplify each other together. Yep. And I'm still there and you're not there. And in and of itself, that's actually beautiful to sit in that. And you'll find that innately there's no judgment of anybody in that state, because it's simply so. What gets clunky and tricky is when you're interfacing with a person in that way and they're still telling you that they're connected, but you feel that they're not. And so now you're kind of torn. And if you can comfortably sit in like, cool.
They think they are.
But they're not.
Yes.
As best as I can tell. And you're like, I feel arrogant and I want to really consider that, the diplomacy can be fiercely prickly in some of those moments when it's steering you away from your actual intuition. So what the fuck is the discernment between arrogance and intuition? Hard one. That's a hard one.
I don't know. For me, because I've pondered these things, like what is the difference between intuition and me just talking to myself? Yeah. What are the differences between musings and, just imagination?
Yeah.
And the only thing that I have is that, for me at least, I can only speak from my own perspective, intuition doesn't feel like it comes from me. Intuition feels like other, and it's quite immediate. It doesn't have there's like a billionth of a second lag in thoughts and in things, and in intuition it's just there all of a sudden. It seems to be quite immediate. But I don't have, I don't know how you tell the difference between arrogance and...
I feel like different spiritual mouthpieces, different spiritual renter mouths, as Ram Dass would say, would offer something of explicit discernment, would offer method here, would offer something deliberate and hard edge. Sometimes you would hear that and you go, that's really reassuring. But my experience has been like those things are true. The good ones, the really powerful insights, even scripture.
Yeah.
has a lot of buoyancy to it and a lot of power and a lot of application, but they're never objective truths insofar as they apply always. And that this is always the case.
Yeah.
We can unpack those, but to me, it's wonderful to pick up what offering or method or scripture in that instance is. It feels really aligned and inspired, and then pay really close attention to when it's no longer aligned nor inspired or inspired, and to put it down. And in my experience, they all end up
needing to be put down.
There's moments where you're like, you could spend 6 months going, all I have to do is remember to be present and I'm free.
Yeah.
And that may be the case. There will be a time when you're in some sort of energetic tension and just intellectually reminding yourself to be present.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
Yeah.
And that's beautiful all by itself.
Yeah.
Because it's like, probably what's really going on is I have milked that for everything it's worth and come to embody it, integrate and embody it. And I've up-leveled, and now I'm ready for something else. And you'll circle back, and it's presence. Like, it's so beyond, it's so simple. So Tolle often talks about, I don't know about now, but 10, 20 years ago, I don't want to offer method. So I can't stray any further than the breath, because the breath has the beauty of being apparently formless. You can't really see breath generally. And so deeply interwoven with the experience of being in a human body that it's still methodical, but it barely, just a hint of it. Yeah. And that opens the door to a really beautiful dialogue about, you said to me once, like, we're talking about psychology, and sometimes it can be really, really effective and penetrative, and sometimes it's not. It can feel stale and dry and over-intellectualized. And I probably just described everything, actually. And you said something like, it's as if we're in this 8-dimensional, I'm ad-libbing, kaleidoscope of infinity that's just shifting and moving, and it's dynamism itself. It's chaotic and fluid. And then psychology, in its wisdom, took a snapshot of it in a certain moment and analyzed it as it was. And it was really true for that snapshot. But it can't ever really capture it all.
I don't ever remember saying that. Maybe
because it wasn't you speaking.
Yeah,
but you were there.
I was,
and I was listening. So yeah, coming back to the intuition thing. I don't think it's dangerous to abdicate self, but I am really interested in what it is for you to for anyone to close the gap between intuition is where something else comes in and it's not me talking.
Yeah.
To it's another part of me talking, a part that I'm familiar with, that I welcome in as self, because it's homely. You've noticed.
Yeah.
Connection with deep parts of ourselves, and that well-being is like coming home. That's why, in some ways, that's why it's worth doing. Because there's nothing more natural than coming home to self, the recognition of your true nature. Yeah. And it's in those flushing moments where as if, I had this image in my head many years ago of like falling into myself, like into, this bottomless hole of self, like consciousness, whatever, really describing formlessness. And then a thought would pop up, or an idea, or something rigid and contracted would pop up, and it was like a trapdoor opening and opening and opening. So it was a mechanism born inside of me in a moment that was about just letting go and letting go and letting go and letting go. And it would create windows of bliss, but they're really formless and not indefinitely sustainable. Yeah. And I don't really want them to be, because it feels like it's done. And I don't think I'm afraid of it being done, but it feels unnatural. I want opportunities to grow and contrast and stuff to coexist with. And we were talking the other day about grief and how it grows us so much. It's so fulfilling that we transcend thresholds. We become different beings through coexisting with grief in authentic ways. And to another part of ourselves, it never goes away, because the thing we cared enough about to experience deep grief is still there. It's still there. So whatever that thing is, which I think anybody, it's almost just saying, like, to be alive and connected to yourself, you'll find that your soul cares about certain things a lot. And when those things are hindered, which they will be, those things will be disturbed. They'll be taken away, they'll be exploited, they'll be, I don't know.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah,
It reminds me of the sand and the pearl analogy.
Right, yeah.
Where it's just like something that's so uncomfortable and so actually becomes something beautiful through what you do with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It was funny when you were talking before, I was thinking, you're talking about the discernment between like the not ego, you were saying arrogance and intuition, or, you know, and I kind of had this feeling of like, it's a fascination perhaps, that the ego almost has a back door into the same idea or the same feeling that you get when you're in your intuition and you're in that space and you're quite home, like you were saying, this really beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and the ego goes, I can do that. Or it's like, in me it does anyway. It's like, I can give you that. And then so there's this kind of like, not self-aggrandizing, but there is this kind of, I've felt it in me before where it's like, are you actually trying to, you know, like you're trying to pontificate, or are you in the flow of something?
Yeah.
You know, and catch yourself in that space. And when you were talking, it felt to me like, they're like, the ego's going, he likes this. There's these feelings of being in flow state or in that, and that's connected to being your true self. I could do that. That's what it feels like to me.
Sounds reasonable too. Like it might be worthy adding some structure to the dialogue about what we mean when we're saying ego. Like, are we inferring something negative? Are we inferring something neutral and innate? Because there can't actually be a Paulness without an ego.
Yeah.
So you could argue there's soul level to ego too, which helps us individuate from other aspects and truly have a unique experience, which I think is a carnal desire. Like some of the purposefulness of being born is to have an identity. And the monastic position might be like, yes, and dissolve it so that you can return to God. It's like, well, so what's the difference between returning to God and dying? Where is that line? What are we talking about? And I think that it's up for grabs, and we get to play with it and see what's most inspired. And for me, the one that moves me most is seeing, I've said many times, how much divinity this individuation can handle, which is to say being fully online esoterically from a consciousness point of view, and then fully online humanistically, so that neither is ever truly given away and that they're both oscillating, because they're not static either. It's not like 50% always. They're moving, they give and take, and, you know, like waves in the shore kind of thing. There's an oscillation. So it makes sense, right? If a being experiences exquisite love and it once recognizes it hasn't been there quite, at least lately or something, because you can't really notice that change if you've never left. So you left the homeliness of of connection to that deep well-being that you are, and then you return to it like, it's like a soul orgasm. Like it probably does get better than that, but what a wonderful contrasting experience to arrive at, to land in that space. And then, you know, molecule by molecule, it dissipates over time for whatever reason, part of that oscillation. And now the individuation wants to get back there. And it's like, no, that's who I am. Like you can see the confusion, right? Like, so there's an ego, like a personhood. It wants to reclaim its divinity. Sometimes that takes the form of like trying to be it by impressing upon others that that's who you are. Yeah. I've had so many moments of, music's an easy example, but it's more guttural to go right to the spiritual and go like, where I can speak eloquently and poetically at my very best. I can feel deeply, but let's say most deeply, most authentically, most radiantly myself, perhaps when I'm lost in language around spirituality. Not always, but, and then I'm having a dialogue where it's not flowing and it's not working. I've come to learn that's usually about the cocktail of the energies involved, me and them and those and all of that. And it's actually no one's fault. It's just the weather. Just
how it is,
yeah, it's just how it is. But so many times, trying to force my way to that. And I can feel myself going like, I'm misrepresenting myself. I want to show these people who I really am.
Yeah.
And it's not flowing and it's not working and I'm forcing it. And that's an ego expression. And it's not all that tragic. It's not all that. It's not dark. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself.
Yeah.
And some of it is so they can see it. There's definitely that layer of immaturity, or it's like, no, I don't want you guys to misunderstand me.
Yeah.
I want you to see the best of me so that you have an impression of my best bits and you don't think I'm a dickhead. That's definitely part of it.
Yeah.
And the journey with that is...
That's so interesting.
That's the classical ego trip, I suppose.
Yeah, my brain's automatically is like, oh, what's behind that?
Yeah.
So you won't think I'm a dick. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
There's a part of you that has that.
I'm not enough all by myself. Yeah. And it feels so nice when I feel really myself and I get to share that with somebody. Yeah. The opposite experience is super shitty. So that would be the contrasty. I'm clarifying what I'm really motivated about. There's nothing more human than wanting to show up as the best version of you as often as you can. I think that's quite reasonable. But requiring to be seen in that way isn't dark, but it is debilitating. And it's in some ways, it's perhaps not participating in the full human experience as much as we can.
Yeah.
And the gem, which is what you're inferring, like what's underneath it, I suppose, is to go, okay, there's a part that thinks that I'll be less if they see an uglier, blemished version of me. And then you have those experiences and you feel the pain of feeling like a bit of a loser or maybe embarrassing yourself. Maybe it's public speaking and you totally kook it. Like, how reasonable, But then you coexist with that. Like a music performance comes to mind. Maybe this is a safer example and I'm chickening out here or something. But where I tanked a performance in front of 200 people at a wedding. It was horrible. It was really, really horrible. I was in incredible discomfort. I was after, the adrenaline for it and after. It was so shit. And I was like, I'm so much better than this. Like, and even if you didn't, that doesn't mean you think you're, John Lennon or whatever. But it's like, there's a truth in it. It's like, I showed up as a terrible performance and I'm okay. There's a big gap between fucking terrible and okay. Yeah. And I was like, I want to show you guys that I'm okay. And I didn't. Yeah. And I also, it was somebody else's wedding. It was not a nice thing to, but it's a really cool experience.
You survived. Yeah.
I survived. And more than that, it was like, wow, I actually still love myself. I actually think it's kind of cool to be the kind of guy who can fail and be all right and not all straight away.
Yeah.
Not then. Yuck. But eventually, so it's like the misunderstanding, you might say the immature ego inflection of going, I don't want to live and be a loser in the eyes of these people.
Yeah.
But then you have the experience, you go, wow, it's really powerful to love yourself despite a couple of loser moments kind of thing. Yeah. It's like the bigger win and all of that. And that's some of the nuance of what it is to be human. That is like the most, surely everybody's having those experiences all the time.
Courageous people are.
Yeah, you dodge them.
Because a lot of people they would never put themselves in the position to ever feel that. I think I had a panic attack on stage once. Wow. Have I told you about this?
I don't think so.
I was finishing up a gig and I had one more song to do or something, and it had gone okay. It was fine, and there was anyway. And for some reason, I'm halfway through this song, the last song of the set, and I look up and I just see this guy looking at his watch, and I was like, fuck. He's literally like, when's this dickhead getting off? Like, this is terrible. And I went down a spiral, man. Like, really.
Still performing?
Yeah. Still playing, still in like muscle memory mode, but like the air just got sucked out of the room, and it was awful. Like, I probably felt like, crying on stage. Yeah, but I got through it and I finished up, and as I was walking, I packed up my shit and stuff, and I was walking past, and the guy walked up and got up on stage, and he goes, "Man, that was really cool." And I was like,
The same guy?
"Yep."
Wow.
And he goes, "Yeah, man, your songs are beautiful, bro. Like, wow, yeah, I just
Really? What time is it, motherfucker?
No, and he goes, yeah, I'm playing next." And I was like, I'd taken that entire meaning of like him looking like, this guy sucks. When's he going to get off? And he's literally like, oh, he's nervous, Oh, we've got to get on soon. And that it ruined the whole set for me,
It extension really excited about this guy's killing this. We really need to back this up.
Yeah, I don't. But you know what I mean? Like the power of that. The power of that's amazing. I think what you're alluding to before is this really beautiful self-care. This really beautiful kind of, I don't know, there's a maturity to it that for me has only come in with age.
Yeah, it's accumulating experience. Yeah.
Well, it's probably experience actually, because I smashed a ton of live gigs in my late teens to early 20s, and then
doing well.
Yeah, no, I hasn't played like 4 nights a week. I was playing in bands and stuff, and then I'm sticking with the music metaphor because I know it well.
Houses.
But and then stopped for a bit, and then started doing my own thing late 20s. And that was really different. I wasn't in a band anymore. I was by myself. And so I had to go through all of these, these demons that had kind of gotten on my back about, you're a piece of shit, you're not very good, etc., etc. But then you come through all of that and having kids and seeing them start to beat themselves up about not being amazing the first time they sit at a piano. You're like, I was kind of doing that. And then there's this beautiful reverence and love for that childlike part of yourself that freaked the fuck out on stage. And then there's this beautiful holding that you can go, wow, I came through that, and I don't feel like that anymore. Like every time I picked up a guitar post being in a band, it's a very weird thing going from being in a band to being just one unit. For me, it was anyway. And I wanted to have, I have amazing musician friends, and I wanted them on stage. And my manager at the time was like, no, you just go up and do it with an acoustic guitar, man. Because you need to be able to do that if we ever get you into a radio station, and you need to be awesome just by yourself. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then there's this beautiful reverence for just the work. Some people look at another friend of mine who's done a ton of busking and a ton of, playing, and he already has that. He had that like in his mid-20s because he just earned it. But yeah, this the beauty of being able to hold yourself and see that kind of like that wounded part of yourself in a way, like,
sure.
Or that vulnerable part of yourself, I think is a beautiful gift of self-love and self-care. Like it's really, really special, I think.
The thing that comes up for me over and over listening to that, and I think ringing in my head when I'm talking about my versions of those stories too, is the accumulation of experience.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy. It's an idea to love yourself in the heat of battle.
Oh, yeah.
Stepping into the heat of battle and seeing the parts of you that go,
that's set on fire.
I mean, yeah, and then coexisting with them. And you could argue, you could talk about self-care, which is a beautiful application. To coexist with them and go, I see you, I'm here for you, I'm holding space for you, I can coexist with you, I'm not afraid for you to come up, even when the stakes are high and there's, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of people staring at me, consuming my expression or something. Yeah. So that I'm not afraid to have my shit come up in that moment would be another way to hold it. Like the scared little boy inside of me can come out and he can sit on the bus. I don't let him drive it because he gets very confused. He sees someone looking at their watch and presumes neurotically. But he is allowed to be there. I think that there's a sort of a nuanced misunderstanding that we get rid of these things. Ram Dass talks about it. It's like there used to be screaming banshees on the bus running up and down the aisles. I'm totally hijacking his metaphor. And now there is little schmooze. Which is probably some Yiddish word originally or something, sitting on the back of the bus. They're still there. And it's as if I've grown bigger and they've stayed the same. So I've grown bigger enough to accommodate them and allow them. Yeah. They can sit in my pocket and be part of the experience because they're beautiful. They've accelerated my growth. They're a welcome organ of the human experience. Yeah, I think because the alternative being, well, you coexist with them, you heal them, and they're gone. Like you pull a splinter out and it's gone.
Yeah.
But splinters don't even work that way. You're changed from the experience of that. They're always with you. You know what it is to have a splinter. You know the risks of infection. You know the discomfort of pulling them out, and the risks of further exposure to. Like, you're all influenced. People who get snake bites are never the same when they walk on a trail, kind of thing. It's better or worse depending on how they digest it. Yeah. So nothing exists in a vacuum. Everything affects everything else. And if you think about, like, it's way more powerful to be able to take those things on board and have them with you. Well, what's really interesting, actually, is that's something I've lived by. And like we were saying before, some insight pops in. I mean, the best insights are the ones that you have in your experience, so spontaneously, organically, naturally, that you don't get from elsewhere. And elsewhere's great because you've got to be resonant with it. Really, it's about you no matter what. But it's if like an idea I've really enjoyed playing with is like, let's say Buddha, as an example, Gautama Buddha had this lifetime of experiences that were spontaneous and authentic and not derived from exercises in thinking, but from an authentic dialogue with life. A discovery of self through that, something revelatory, peeling back layers on layers on, like, this is who I really am. No, this is who I really am, over and over and over. And then embodying that and expressing from that embodiment, and then people respond to that. It's a vibrational exercise, not a philosophical one. But something I think that's really beautiful is you have, how do I usually language it? You have the energetic experience first, which is chaotic and definitively confusing because you are in the outer limits of who you are. You're being stretched into newness. You're not supposed to know your way around perfectly. This isn't, as homely as it is to discover new aspects of self, it's confusing to old aspects of self as they get up-leveled or let go of, sort of thing, or at least let go of their control and governance over your life. So it's as if we have the energy transformation takes place first, and you don't know what's up or down. And then once the transformation's taken place, the integration and embodiment kicks in. Sometimes years later, now you can talk about it. The idea that you can talk about something with any authority feels like a strong word, but any real
Integrated
efficacy
resonance,
without integrative resonance, the idea that you could talk about it until it's integrated is kind of crazy. And yet we can kind of try to. Sometimes it's why a friend asked me, had some similar experiences, and he's like, bro, I'm going through something similar to what you went through some years ago. What do I do? If you were to do it again? I'm like, wow, fuck, what a question. I would philosophize less. I would put my spiritual toolkit, take the belt off and put it on the ground and leave it there vastly more often, like 10 times more often. And I would lay on the ground and cry and writhe and roll around as if it's the discomfort that is the transformer. Yeah. Which someone might see as defeatism, but to me it was actually stepping right into the very middle of the battleground.
I feel like intuitively for me it's like the mind wants the method. Tell me what what would you do differently? Tell me it, solve the puzzle. And it's so attractive. Like I do it all the time. Here's how you can blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, cool. Tell me how I can do that. You get to the end of it and you're like, why don't I feel like that's, I hear what you're saying and I understand what you're saying. I don't feel anything. I don't feel like what you're saying is. Yeah. And then it dawned on me. It's like, I don't feel anything because you haven't felt anything. Yeah. It's a dumb thing to say, but it's like you don't feel anything because you haven't felt anything. It's like exactly what you're saying. Feel it.
The missing ingredient is feeling it.
Yeah, part of the actual response and part of the movement is to move that energy through your system and is to feel it. Yeah. I can only speak for myself. I am less so, but I used to be so.
For this episode and all subsequent episodes, Paul's always speaking for himself, just so you know.
The caveat. It's. I've been so cerebral in my life, incredibly cerebral, and I think I don't want to give away, my ownership of that, because I've done that. But society is quite mind and is quite cerebral, and we celebrate. I mean, we all know who Einstein is, because of his intellectual. I mean, he was an incredibly emotionally intelligent human as well, which you hear less about.
Yeah. It's quite earth-shattering to see evidence of his incredible EQ.
Oh man, the guy was next level on many levels, not just an intellectual giant.
Quite alien, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, the feeling thing is part of the process. Is possibly, it's the most underrepresented in my life it's been.
Yeah.
But has been the thing that actually does the most amount of shifting. So lying on the ground and crying and letting that, like the intensity of the moment in and let it move through you is, it takes great courage to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're defying modern convention, which is you can think your way through it, and you're you're going into yourself and being present with your consciousness, which, to me also is like, that's how you tell the difference between, where is the presence of your consciousness? Is it in you? Is it in flow state, or is it in you state? Like in the separation.
We're talking about ego and being lost in personhood versus surrendering that and being lost in nothingness. In my experience, like, living life is allowing each to weave in and out of one another, and that actually they're both really, really important to a full participation here. And they're really, really important to each other. Feeling informs, like we were just saying, you go through a deep passage of feeling to the very bottom, and then you feel this incredible spaciousness. Sometimes it's not till you wake up the next day, and you feel this incredible spaciousness, and now your clarity of thought is exquisite. I think of it very romantically and, let's say, philosophically, the idea of the different masculine and feminine parts, and he can get so lost in mission that he forgets what he's up to. That's one way to talk about it. Almost like if you have infinite capacity to go anywhere, do anything at any time, anywhere, with anyone, it gets really hard to find value. Eventually, this is a concept we don't even really talk about. But if we're going to talk about infinity, this is not the dark side of it, but like the inevitable side of it, is that if you could do anything all the time, then at some point you could get quite lost. And coming back to a personhood is how you find an individual tends to have likes, dislikes, magnetisms, and repulsions.
Limited nature of
it's exquisite.
Limited, unlimited.
There you are, utterly unlimited, looking for purpose, and then I something that moves me much more, looking for something to care about, and then the individual cares about stuff. Not all stuff, but cares. And if you really sit with yourself, you'll notice you really care about certain things. That's what it is to get to know self. And I think by your definition of things just now, which again, we're holding lightly as just a model to play with, that's an ego trip. Just say like, I don't know, we can make it more convenient by saying, but it's being done consciously because you're watching it happen. And you're not defining yourself by those likes and dislikes. But one of the ones that's come up for me recently, you know this from our personal chats, is I always thought that I cared a whole lot about family. It felt present and available that I was passionate about family and my blood, my people. And then you have children and a spouse, and then in my case things shift and they're no longer present in the same way that they were. So theoretically, I loved family. Theoretically, I was able to value it while I was familying. I was doing family. And then it's gone in the form that it was. And I get to value it in direct proportion to how much that hurt.
Yeah.
And in this particular example, it's been many years. And it's not done. It still has the capacity to grow me. And what does that growth take the form of? Getting to know myself. This Luke thing, for better or worse, for ugly or pretty, for powerful or totally enfeebled mess on the ground, crying, rolling about, whatever, ineffectual, happens to care about certain things more than others. Strange. And in order to be authentic, actually has to live outside of some sort of moral system that we all subscribe to in society. Like, to really find who you are, you have to soften some of those, at least in your private, intimate relationship with yourself, and go like, what if I don't give two shits about family really? What if family really is just like companionship? Or I'll take care of you when you're little if you take care of me when I'm sick. I don't think that's wrong. Like, if someone really feels that way and they're more lit up by, I don't know, philanthropy or the environment or like whatever, I feel no objection to that. But for me, the sacredness of what it is to hold space for my children isn't morally right. I'm lit up by it.
Yeah.
I'm lit up by some sports more than others. I'm lit up by some foods more than others. I think the universe is excited about my individuality. And I think that's a definitive ego trip. How much divinity can I pump into that ego trip? Like the Khan thing we talked about months ago. How much can I enlighten? How much can I open to this human experience? How big can my humanity get as a portal to allow more and more divinity through? And it takes the form of how rich can this human experience be? And I'm finding in real time,
it's infinite.
It certainly doesn't stop, but it's how beautiful it is to care.
Yeah.
And so much of my monastic installations,
Yeah.
they're as if it's like you are care itself, which is to say you are love itself, so let it all go.
Overarching, yeah.
And it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Or it works fiercely for 50% of me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other, I'm not reaching my full potential doing that. There's so much space to care about things and work out who I am. Strange.
I feel like
it's like the opposite way to go.
It's that thing of, I hear exactly what you're saying. I feel like it could potentially be a trap that a lot of people, myself included, have fallen into, where it's like, this feeling thing and this kind of discernment or these kind of judgments that you have or these desires that you have, the things that you love.
Yeah, like your individuality.
This is actually one of the steps, is moving through this and actually feeling and going into all the way in.
Yeah.
You don't get to jump over the top of it and just be like, everything's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Like that's,
bypass.
We talk about it a lot. That's bypass, yeah. And I think you're right, man. Like I think that is it can be, I don't know, it can be incredibly confusing because you have these ascended masters giving us all this wisdom from they're part of it, but they're detached because they've moved through many lifetimes beforehand, perhaps. They've moved through this part and we're still all moving through the feeling part. But there's so much juice in feeling.
Yeah.
There's so much in there, man. Like, I think you're like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like you've short-circuited, this most wonderful, Casio keyboard you've ever heard of. I don't know, it's a terrible analogy. It's really bad. But do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you've got...
So you've taken this exquisite instrument.
And you're like, this is it! And it's like, dude, this thing's capable of so much more. What are you doing?
I like the metaphor.
It's in demo mode.
Yeah. You're running in 2% of your potential.
Yeah, and there's like, because there's all the shit that you don't like about yourself is in there too.
Yeah.
All the stuff that you go, I'm embarrassed about this. It's like, that's all in your feeling. It's all, as well as all that great stuff, all the good shit that you love. And care about.
There's something like, I want to move past this discomfort and this pain and this small holding of things and move into a bigger perspective. You and I have invited each other into a bigger holding of things countless times in effective and ineffective, clumsy friend support ways, as we're working out how to be better and all of that stuff. And something I love is like, I'm so big, I can fully allow this really small part to this really human part to play out fully. And it doesn't mean I have to act upon it. I'll act from inspiration and alignment, even contrary to, as best as I can handle, as brave as I can be, even contrary to convention, even if something sounds a bit dangerous, even if something's rather counterculture. You know, like for me, like being willing to step out of a human relationship that's like, all of a sudden, I'm fiercely present to how inauthentic this aspect of our relationship is. And we can talk about it and make it better. But if you can't demonstrate that you can do that, that's totally okay. But I will dial my authenticity and exposure and depth back to where you are. And then you find that's really uncomfortable to the historical relationship you've been part of.
Yeah.
And they perceive
something.
it as a rageful fuck you.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're sitting in your own reality going, but where's the one? Of course I'm allowed to be angry. I'm not allowed to hurt anybody physically or be abusive with my language if I want to stay in integrity. But, oh God, it's so beautiful to be with someone you love and have them get angry.
Yeah.
To feel safe enough to get angry. It can be fierce and really challenging and overwhelming and all that. You're talking about like getting on stage and failing and learning to fail well over time. Really, that looks more like stacked experiences than it does about an innovative philosophical holding that you read in a book or whatever. Similarly, taking feedback takes a bit.
Yeah.
Can I coexist with a reality in which they might think I'm a loser?
Yeah.
Versus, can I coexist with a reality in which they might think that I'm a and do it 20 times and you're like, these are traversable.
So bad. Yeah.
These are fucking traversable.
Yeah.
That there's a feeling of immortality in that for me sometimes where I'm like, oh, I can coexist with them thinking I'm a loser and maybe even me going, yeah, I got loser bits. Like, yeah.
Are you talking, like, it feels to me like you're talking about the
It feels to me like you're talking about your friend Pete. No specific references allowed.
I don't know why is it Chris? It's like Chris always seems to come up.
Bro, let's process it.
Your mate Chris. Do you even have a friend called
Let's look
Chris?
underneath that.
It feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about the entire polarity of experience and holding both extremes and all the bits in between, perhaps at once. So you're talking about going, well, I have this thing in me that goes, yes, I am part of the isness of everything that ever was and ever will be, and that's great because there's a background.
And that's great, I think.
And that's cool.
I think that's a good thing, actually.
And there's this background kind of hum in my life that is that. But then you're also talking about like going deeply into the human experience and being like, this is fucked. Isn't that great? You know, this is deeply...
Eventually.
Yeah.
It's because in order for it to be fucked, it's got to be fucked.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have any juice if it was the same old fuck you were processing when you were 10 years old. To the extent that we were capable to process when we were 10 years old. When you were 22 years old.
I'm still processing some stuff from...
Exactly. So, no, so... Yes, allowing myself to be infinite and incredibly finite. But what I'm saying is we can also bypass by adopting a really rosy view of our pain. It's like, oh yeah, I'm allowed to be in pain and I'm allowed to fail. And, you know, like things we say to our kids and stuff can be like, hey, you're not going to be good at this the first time you do it. That's an idea that we wish we could liberate their pain through.
Yeah.
But the truth is,
they got to live it.
Is to allow the discomfort. So when we say like you can do hard things and we want to hold this stuff lightly, that's all great.
Yeah.
But we don't want to hinder their feeling of this stuff. When the little ones go like, rah, I can't finger paint, like to let them, And in my experience, what actually happens is their nervous system goes off. They funnel their nervous system through ours, which is natural surrogacy.
Yeah.
Probably till they're teenagers and then, you know, dissipating inversely proportionally out us as they empty the nest, so to speak.
Don't bypass their experience.
Yeah, and that's the nuance. And you
like,
hear yourself going like, I want you to feel better, I want you to feel better. And you're like, no, I need...
You want you to feel better.
Yeah,
probably,
in ways, for sure.
Know, like,
true.
You're soothing the inner child that...
And also, it's also true that we care about people.
Yeah.
this is the ththing. This is where it can swing to too monastic. It's like, oh, it's really just about you, and this is the psychological. But it's also, no, but love exists too.
But you understand the function of pain, and you understand the function of the function of disappointment.
Feels like it should be a word, punction.
You know, like,
yeah.
So that is caring.
No, exactly. So yeah, to hold for them. Well, we're just saying, I'm so big.
Yeah.
I don't want to need to lean only into my bigness, but to allow my bigness to fulfill its potential and hold space for the small stuff, hold space for the human stuff.
You use it instead of trying to get them to use your bigness.
Well, yeah. Yeah, well, this is a lot of waffle about like children are our greatest teachers, and children, it's akin to like children are the future or whatever. It's like, wow, how, you know.
I heard Whitney Houston say it last weekend. I believe the children are the future. Do you remember that song? I can't even remember what it's called.
I remember Whitney Houston dying.
Oh.
No, it's like, I heard her say it last week. I'm like, where you go? Oh, that's right. She played it in a song. Okay.
She did a song with it.
There are spiritual tools we want to avail ourselves of. One I hear a lot is like, I don't want to tell that old story anymore. There's a Trevor Hall song like, oh, no, you just got to let that old story go.
Right.
Let that old river flow. Beautiful concept. I think about it. I think about everything's double-edged. And
well, as soon as you said that, my thing of like your grist for the mill.
Yeah.
Thinking about like, where's the grist for the mill then?
Yeah. If you're letting all things go all the time, letting go to flow. And there is flow, but in my experience, what happens inside this machine we inhabit, which is visceral and energetic structures interwoven into, you know, selfness, that when I notice resistance, you could say, like a wishing things weren't as they are, which is usually I don't want to feel this actually. So I want to let go and work with this. I'm going to work with this. There's something shitty happened today. It was in the moment I was too distracted by the 15 balls I was juggling, and now I'm less distracted. I can actually be introspective and pull this stuff apart and be with this. And in order to get to a flow state, I let go, let's say, or I soften and open, and what I find immediately is big old feelings. In order to get to the downstream movement, there's a vibrational state that occupies, that in order to get to that, I've got it. The path to it is to feel the feelings that are in the way, and they're not in the way, really. They're actually transformational alchemy. State. I want to let go. I want to stop telling that story. But I want to feel the feeling. So you might almost be like, all right, some part of me really wants to tell that story. I want to feel the feelings of that part of me. And this is where the psychological can be advantageous. So all of a sudden you discover like, oh, this is a feeling that's been there for a very long time. It's amazing to go, I've always felt like this, as long as I can remember. That sounds like liberation. Yeah, to let go of decades of patterning.
What's interesting, isn't it? Like, as you continue to grow and you continue to expand, but yet we know through evaluation, psychological evaluation, that there are things that we have from our childhood that I'm still, as a 48-year-old male, carrying now. Ways of dealing with things that worked at the time. And like we have, you know, we have ways and means of identifying it, and also then ways and means of traversing that and moving through it. The idea of that is quite illogical but fascinating for me at the same time.
The idea that we would bring younger versions of ourselves along for the ride is
that there's like coping mechanisms that when you were a kid, this was the way that you sorted it out. You know, like I'm getting yelled at. I don't know why. I'm going to dissociate. Yeah. Then all of a sudden you have other intense experiences in your life and you dissociate because that was the thing that worked back then, and that made perfect sense back then. But as an older person, it makes no sense at all.
In that specific example, which I'm analysing the metaphor now, but in order to maintain the supply of love is the kind of wounded child perspective, wounded child philosophy perspective on this. You had to almost literally cut and paste parts of your reality from I don't know, your holding of what
Your
was true.
observation, of what you think is
from your
going to
conscious-
work.
So
Yeah.
which manifests as disassociation.
Yeah.
So you're excising that bit and removing it,
Yeah.
and yet it's not possible.
Yeah.
So you could say then that the integration of that stuff is to reassociate. Neil Donald Walsh used to talk about recognition. I suppose God talked about it through Neil Donald Walsh, where you remember a cognition from the past.
Yeah.
But what he's really talking about is remembering your divinity in that example. Yeah. Taking something that was and restoring it.
Yeah.
All parts.
Yeah.
It's another way of holding it too, is this sort of concept of parts therapy, which is not something I'm particularly versed in, but some exposure to it through psychology and coaching work myself as a recipient of that stuff. And it's like letting all parts of yourself be. Are you powerful enough for all parts of yourself to be welcomed in? Not to drive the bus.
Yeah.
Not to dictate your life in a direct, sovereign way. And they have, and they continue to be in our as yet uncovered stones, as yet covered up stones, as yet to be uncovered stones.
I would assert you have to be.
Have to be.
You have to be big enough to allow all of that in if you wish for peace. If you truly want peace and at least an internal freedom, which is the only real kind of freedom, really, like you have to be able to be big enough to let all of that in. Yeah. And to forgive, and forgiving yourself's massive.
So when we come to, there's a bit of a collision in wellness in the social media scape right now around does narcissism exist or doesn't it?
Really?
Which really is just a specification of are there really perpetrators, or are you drawing this in? Which is, as far as I can tell, is an argument between the hard-leaning spiritual perspective of like, there's only one of us here.
Yeah.
These patterns are only arising in you because of patterning in you.
Yeah.
Rather, these patterns are only playing out in your human experience because of deeper patterns in you. Only you can make those changes. That's the monastic perspective. Whereas the more human one is that there is such a thing as abusers and abusees.
Yeah.
And these two things colliding. So you've got kind of like wellness gurus offering, or teachers or coaches or whatever. I don't know where the line with any of that would be. It is tricky though when you see some of these. This is a fluid exercise for me because I was a devotee at one point in my life, and it didn't turn out. Things weren't as I thought that they were. Things weren't as I felt that they were. It kind of went bad. Now, I started off that when I was 15. Did I draw that experience in to grow me? Certainly. Was I the victim of abuse who couldn't possibly defend themselves in any human way? Observably.
Yeah.
So then does it behoove me to hold myself as an abusee in that circumstance? It's a genuine question. Here's an offering around it. I can bypass the realities of what happened to my human self in that circumstance if I skip to cashing the checks of the spiritual growth too quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
So if like, this is happening for me, I'm going to work with this. It's like, that's okay if you can feel all of it.
If you're ready to
the core.
Yeah.
And they're both slippery slopes.
Well, you can
be stuck in victimhood. That's a thing. Like, I mean, whatever stuck means, like that implies there's a rush to get somewhere.
Yeah.
So in some ways you can be stuck, in some ways you can't get stuck. It's a fascinating landscape. Let's be big enough. Let's adopt the spiritual perspective so largely that we can allow a full human experience to play out.
The question that arises in me is, can we believe in an intelligence or a supreme divinity that allows both to be right, both are capable at the same time?
Yeah.
Both things.
The duality. Well,
there's the narcissism,
the
narcissist, and you drew that narcissist in at the same time. Both of those things can be possible because there is an intelligence, I believe, that we cannot comprehend. You know, I used to do this thing where I'd like kind of draw like from opposing sides of the page. I'd take a pen and just do squiggly lines, you know, and with the pen, and then those two with two pens at opposite sides, and they would come and they would meet in the middle, and then they'd go off and do their squiggly wiggly. And for me, that signifies this is one pen is one life and one pen is another. And the idea is that they're living their lives and they come together for this remarkable moment of interaction with each other and teaching, and then they go off and they do their own things. And this is happening all the time with every single person that you ever met, and anyone who anyone has ever met. And it's a supreme intelligence that my mind can't comprehend how that's possible. Yet, you know, you look at fractals and you look at chaos, and that seems possible.
The dichotomy of chaos and order, I suppose, of chaos and cohesion, or something sensical.
The order of chaos.
Order, yeah. Chaotic order.
It's like randomness, but also, I don't know.
This is it, man. This is the very spot that everything is dichotomous. You and I can get to know each other and find real sanctuary in the human friendship, and actually in like the neuroregulation of going, fuck, we're not alone in the wilderness, and it is very human to connect, and we will never know that we know each other. We'll never really be sure that what we know about each other is truly true. I cannot know that I know what you're experiencing inside, but there is a feeling of getting closer to it and pushing away from it. And so the teal swan thing she offers is beautiful. And unapologetic, like most of her stuff. There's two pathways of holding she sees around abuse or trauma, I suppose. And it's like, I was in a circumstance of trust and exposure and things went really, really bad, but I don't want to surrender to this story of victimhood and for it to manifest unabated in my life. So I'm going to tell positive stories now. She tells it in a more concise way. Versus some really fucked up shit happened. It was dark and it was fucked up and it was not okay and not in alignment with who I am, with my system of principles and virtues. It was really fucked up. But now what?
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
To both being true, it is fucked up.
Yeah.
It is damaging and revelatory. It reveals a truth that was concealed, and that was in and of itself traumatizing. But now what am I going to do about it? So there's not nearly the magnitude of fear of the story. It's like, this actually happened. So if we acknowledge that we're fractured into these different parts that we want to integrate more and more of, if we're saying that story isn't true, that part is left out in the cold over and over and over and over. So a willingness to go to that part of me, it's incredibly real. And this is what it looks like to sit and cry on the floor and go to this part of me. I'd have, in the last couple of weeks, a fear of like, whew, I'm years into this story of grief and still discovering new layers. And it's like, if I let go to this layer of grief, it's like a grief beyond reason. It's like, what if I never heal it and it's always there? And there's like no, I've got to get to the bottom of it. I can't sit in perpetual grief for forever.
Yeah.
It's like, what if there's a part of me or a part of this human reality where it's like, well, actually, reforming or damaging or removing family in the way that happened for me might not be a thing I ever get over, which is unpacking that a little or reverse engineering that. I'll always care about family. It'll always matter to me.
Yeah.
And I'll never get so big that I don't care about that. And if the price of that is some grief, let's grieve.
So be it.
So the invitation was, can you grieve for forever? And other parts said, no. That's like dying for forever. And then the part that was up for it is like, well, that's what it is to really care about something.
Yeah.
And so, oh, no, you got to let that old story go. It's true for half of it. Because I am holding it differently, actually. The old story was like, I'm going to grieve till I heal. And the new story is like, I'm going to grieve because I am.
Yeah.
I'm going to grieve for as long as I care. And I'm always going to care. And the good news is in that dichotomous mess, you let go to a new depth and you feel, and it was this particular, bubble of grief was pretty scary because it's like as if I might actually become grief itself, like I might just disappear into it or something. But then, like everything else, you pop out the other side as a changed version. Wow. I think what it actually is that part that was left out is now in the house, warm, and just like a beautiful child or a cousin visiting or something, they're additive. It adds something to the collective of all those fractals bouncing around the living room. It adds something to the home.
Yeah.
And the truth is that if I went, there is no narcissist. There is only my relationship with the universe and my opportunity. Dancing with that has kept me from interfacing with some of the pain of it. I think these teachers offer this in a way to help people liberate. I do. If it's not that, it's something really fucked up. And I think largely it's not. I give benefit of the doubt or whatever, that it's offering an opportunity to liberate from victimhood. And like we were saying, let's dare to be so big that we can accommodate victimhood and let it play itself out within us. And never saying it's not true. Your reality is untrue. It's ironically paralyzing to that part of ourselves. In my experience.
This person asks the question, when I can't get out of my own head, how am I supposed to help myself? I guess they're talking about like in down moments and dark moments. I know I can ask others for help, but in these moments, I don't actually want to ask for help.
When I really get a bit lost, when things get contracted and really shitty, what can I do? And so there's a beautiful vulnerability in it, It's like, oh, wow, I'm really functional in all these areas of life, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm scared of what it is to be me. That might be amplifying what they're actually offering there, but I mean, that's what I mean. If I was to ask that question, is like it becomes a lot and I don't know how to get out of it. I'm probably not the only one, but I've begged for help before, like dialogue with deities when I'm expanded. Who knows if they're actually dialoguing back or it's just aspects of myself chatting away, whatever. But I'm comfortable enough with that practice, so why wouldn't I talk to them when I'm in trouble as well? Like begging source for an insight that cracks this open. And my experience, I get an answer. Sometimes it's an actual insight, but most of the time, it's the pain. It's like the answer's already present, and it's in the form of the alchemy of the pain you're going through, the writhing on the ground and crying. That might be intolerably oversimplified. And I can feel that part of myself too. I used to have have I talked about having PTSD on the pod?
Not really. You've alluded to trauma.
There were some times after exiting, particularly in the early years of exiting ambulance, where I had a lot of trouble sleeping. You could call it post-shift work, you could call it post... when I stopped accumulating the crisis energy of being in that space, it was as if all the backlog was just coming out and coming out and coming out and coming out. And so I might try to get to sleep at 8 or something, and then I'd wake up at midnight and I'd be up all night. And that was for years. It was like that. So I'd just take maybe I'd get back to sleep at like 8 in the morning and sleep till 10. And wow. There was a lot of that for a long time. And, melatonins and things, they kind of they helped, but they hindered and all of that. So I had a lot of opportunity to work with that discomfort and feeling trapped with myself. And particularly in those almost unconscious modes of consciousness, there's less control of the mind, if you like. And, I'd meditate and do avail myself of all the positive things and try to eat right and whatever. There was a resignation, a surrender that arose spontaneously that's like, this is my lot for now. I've tried to do everything I can. I've tried to make the changes. And it hasn't really worked. So I'm stuck with myself. And so I'm going to allow, the insight was I'm going to allow my brain to decompress on its own terms. I'm going to meet this experience where it lies. I'm going to let it play out. And as it turns out, that was probably the most effective thing to realize. It totally talks about like adding pain to pain. I'm in pain and now I'm wishing that I weren't. And sometimes that can manifest as trying to solve a bit too aggressively. Yeah. And so we're adding pain to pain.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it might be by more than a factor of one, meaning I've got one amount of pain and I'm actually adding like 5 or 6 times of it with all the tension I'm creating around it. So letting it go. And it was, in that instance, it was, I stopped looking for a solution, and that placed me outside of convention and culture and was a bit isolating in some ways, but just this is compression in my nervous system that I'm going to allow to decompress on its own terms. Essentially, we're talking about, can you work with the experience of it? Like we were talking about earlier in the pod, there's parts that are agitated. I mean that in a neutral way. They're not pissed off on some sort of moral landscape. They're worked up. They're agitated. They're not at peace. They're perhaps not connected to self in that way. So repression's not going to work. Stepping on that is not going to work. It might give the illusion of symptom resolution, but you're only delaying the work to another time. So how do we welcome this in? How do we move downstream with this? How do we allow our ugly parts to be? Think of the sort of tantric analogy of the container, like the masculine emptiness holding space for the feminine. And if he's only interested in the beautiful parts, he never meets her. He's essentially a little girl playing with a doll. I'll welcome in the bits that I want to welcome in. There is no authentic relationship between a girl and a doll. She's relating to herself, animating the doll. There's no sovereignty. There's no spontaneity, there's no surprise, there's no growth, there's no authenticity. It's a pawn. But when the primal masculine welcomes in any form of the feminine through love, then he welcomes in all of her, and everything's amplified. Her beauty's now real because she's messy as well. She can give you vastly more beauty and expression and authenticity and pleasure and all the things, because she's safe enough to be there. And these are aspects, that human relationship is a metaphor for self, not the other way around. It sounds like it's the other way around in my using of it now, but no, really, that's the primary one. The relationship between your God self and your human self, and letting these bits in and go, hey, I am big enough for you to be messy. And adopting a tantric law here, it's like, I'm actually even bigger because I allowed myself to hold something even scarier. And I'm not talking about one man and one woman, one person and one partner. I'm talking about me and me. I let in a bit I've never been able to let in, and I'm now more whole than I've ever been. I feel like that paints a clear picture of the fact that this tantric thing is just a model, because we're also talking about parts therapy, is to let in that other part. I'm so big that even disaster can exist inside of me. Thankfully, this journey never ends, and dauntingly, this journey never ends. So any advancement the question asker can make in being able to work with this rather than against it. I'm here and I'm noticing chaos in my mind. The invitation is to go, is there any feelings here underneath? It's as if if our bodies are energetic systems and there's a dominant feeling state of, let's say, anxiety, fear, anger, then it's like, imagine it's circulating through a system of pipes like your actual blood vessel circulatory system. And every time the blood hits the brain, it's fusing the brain with that flavor. So the mind is subordinate to the dominant feeling. The mind is just symptomatically responding. So you're in a state of anxiety or anger and the mind is responding in kind. So do we treat the symptom or the cause? While my mind is really busy and I feel cornered by what it is to be myself in this moment, is there a feeling there as well? I think saying that out loud and imagining this person, I'm struck by the beauty of the intimacy of that, the invitation to intimacy, to be with yourself. You're messy, bro. You're messy right now. Can you love yourself messy? And unfortunately, in this time of acculturated wellness, it tends to look like I'm going to say nice things, I'm going to practice self-love, I'm going to be gentler with myself, and there might be some efficacy in that. But no, we're talking about intimacy. When we say self-love, we mean intimacy, which is mess and chaos, and to be able to give that structure and hold for it. The secondary point about, I know I could ask for help, but I don't want to, that could swing either way. There'll be parts of that are deeper aspects of you inviting you into self-intimacy. There'll be other parts of that, dichotomously mirroring, that are like, I don't feel safe enough to offer my mess intimately to another. That's too much intimacy. Both will be active, because I think they always are. The third party, the other person, the only lubrication they could bring is authenticity and holding around what you're moving through. So they're only going to amplify the only thing they could do is amplify your relationship with self. So whether they're there or they're not there, self-intimacy is the way forward. You've been talking a lot today, Paulie, about the power of feeling, like, fuck, just to feel this stuff inside of me, to let Paul, to be with all this. I mean, it's the remedy too, like we're sort of referencing people offering content in a wellness guru kind of way. Like, it's not lost on Paul and I that we're offering something here too, and it's so grounding to be talking about our own mess. It's a different kind of vulnerability, and it's probably not for everybody, but we're in the middle of it too. And so I'm less afraid to speak with assertiveness, because I'm also speaking with vulnerability.
I think everybody needs at least one person in their life that they can, no matter what, lean into. So if you don't feel like you want to talk to anyone, maybe that's an invitation to either dig deeper into the friendships that you have, or perhaps surrender more of yourself into the friendships that you have, rather than maybe being, so together, or to kind of echo your point of, like, if you don't feel, like you can be vulnerable, then there's a space for you to inhabit. There's a space for you to move into, which is engaging deeper, more nourishing conversations. You're obviously a deep person, because this, is a beautiful question. You wouldn't have these wonderings if you weren't emotionally, and
ready for more.
Yeah, emotionally open. So be brave, be courageous, and open. Examine
the relationships that are there, and it's okay that there's discernment there too, because inevitably, not all relationships were built for this, and that's okay. And that's not a rag on anybody. It's a clarification of what relationships you want to move more deeply into. Relationships are there to deepen your relationship with self on an esoteric level, and so they are serving their purpose radiantly. On a human level, they're there for us to neuroregulate, which I think you were kind of pitching to a bit as well, that everybody needs somebody. For growth, sure, but also we do need oxygen if we are to sustain this monkey suit we're in, and human touch, all the things of being a pack animal are really, really real too. But opportunities to care about something other than yourself is such a boon. If one believes in collective consciousness, and what we all think, say, and do affects all of humanity as a whole, would this explain why the world is in such chaos at the moment?
That's an interesting one, because I firmly believe that the world is, the sky's always falling and the world's always ending. I honestly believe there is a purposeful narrative that everything is shit and everything is, and we've always been, and we've always had, I remember seeing sandwich boards that do, the sky is falling, or the world is ending, whatever he was saying. from the early 19th century. And that narrative doesn't change. It's just a perspective shift. It's about how you view the world. I don't know. I love me a good conspiracy theory, as Luke knows. He says, watching Luke rub his temples going, gosh, damn it. I love me a good conspiracy theorist. I think
it's inconvenient when they prove out to be true too.
There's always been dictators trying to control the masses through time. It's still happening. To think that it stopped all of a sudden, it's just they got better at hiding it. Awesome. But the more interesting question with that is, who are you amongst all of that? What are you doing? And how are you able to hold that? Are you in it, swimming around, destroying your life? Are you, so negative that you can't get out of bed in the morning and don't want to? Well, perhaps you need to look at that. Perhaps you need to, like I had to, moderate the amount of holding that you do of that. I haven't watched a single news show since 2000, probably 2000 and somewhere between 2000 and 2005, when I entered into doing sound design and stuff like that and ads. I had this experience where jacked up on too many coffees, and we were doing some I don't know, it's like a chocolate milk or something ad, and it was like this BMXer, and all we were doing all afternoon was like noises, like sound effects, and making them and stuff of like this kind of BMXer getting ready to do this extreme sport. If you want an extreme life, you drink this extreme milk kind of thing. Like
extreme milk.
It was something like that, and it had all these kind of like
milk from spiders.
And I was jacked off on way too much coffee. I've already had 3 coffees, which is a lot for me. Like, I'm not drinking coffee now, and I'm still pretty blah, 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 blah.
And I'm still into extreme milk.
And I went home that night, and that ad came on the television in between the show I was watching. And I was like, no. It was in my lounge, like it was in my lounge room. And from that moment, I I turned off television. And I pulled the aerial out, and I just decided I'm just going to watch what I want to watch, and it's not television.
Yeah.
Because, it's funny, it was that extreme moment, but there have definitely been times in my life where friends have helped me realize, you being one of them. It's like, is the amount of information you're actually consuming about current affairs and the world is ending, is that helping you? And sometimes it is, because sometimes you can be prepared for events that you can see coming beforehand. Sometimes you can be, like a classic example would be COVID. I didn't see it coming early, but when it started to roll out, I'm part of a community here, and we didn't know how it was going to roll out. So we're not preppers, but we believe in resilience, and so we had barrels, drums of diesel, drums of petrol, and during the floods up here, that proved to be very helpful. 2 months worth of food in and around and underneath the deck in the house, and so I think there's definitely help. It's definitely helpful to be able to look at world events and look at what's happening in the world and find your way. But there is definitely a sweet spot. And so I would invite anyone who's in that position to pay attention to how they're feeling in their body. And I have a friend who has done amazing things. He's stopped mobile phone towers from being erected like right near people's homes and things, like shining right into their houses, stuff that just didn't make any sense, and started a kind of precedent in Australia for being able to shut these things down. And it's been to his great personal detriment, a lot of stress, and he's able to carry a lot, but even he found his edge, and so it is about what are your own personal tolerances, because sometimes it can be the word I'm thinking is like torture porn, when people watch torture things. Sometimes it can be like drama porn, I guess, where it's just like, You just need the excitement and the dopamine hit of the drama.
Yeah.
This is not actually doing you any good. Like, really pay attention to what is your quality of life, I guess, is the big, and that means both externally in your, physical life, but mentally and spiritually. Do you feel overwhelmed? Do you feel, because we have access to so much information these days that we can't do anything with. I can't do anything about Gaza and Israel. I can't do anything about it at the moment. I can't do anything about Russia and Ukraine. It's like, and yet I'm shown all of these images and things. I mean, I can express my opinion. I can talk to my local councilman or a member of parliament, so they have my, how I feel about the situation. You can buy things or not buy things from certain companies or countries that you agree with. But really, like, what's going on in your life that you feel like you need to be so stimulated into something that you can't do anything about? And so that's from my personal space. It's like, the world isn't any crazier than it's ever been before. We were right on the edge of nuclear war in the 60s. The world is how you think it is. And I think that, yes, it does affect the global consciousness. And yes, I also believe that if you are in a state of fear and panic, you don't make good decisions. You are easier to control, and you're not living your highest truth and your highest potential.
Yeah, ironically.
Move into a space of love. Yes, you wish it wasn't like this. That's cool. I get it. I wish it wasn't like this too, but it is. Can you love in your immediate surroundings the people that you are closest with? Can you serve? Can you uplift? Those are the truly deep, nourishing things that you can do for your soul, but for the collective good. And if you feel that, if you feel that move to do so, go and work at a soup kitchen, feed the homeless, go and look after people, like, be of service. I honestly, I feel that strongly about it. And there are people that do, beautiful people that do. And if you can't get there, can you give to a foundation that's looking after people? Can you align, make the world that you want? You will shape the world in your image. Every tiny little thing matters. You do matter. Everybody matters.